The 7 Star-Annihilators floated in space around Earth, glowing like small suns. Below them, humanity celebrated. Above them, the galaxy watched and waited. Yang felt the weight of their stares. Every alien species in known space was asking the same question. What would the Star Killers do next? "We need to talk," Park said. Her voice carried across the void between them. About what we've become? About what comes next? The 7 Guardians gathered in the space between Earth and its moon. To anyone watching, they looked like a constellation of stars having a conversation. "The war is over," Haiwan said. "The Alliance is running away. Our people are safe. For now," Yang replied. "But they'll be back. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not for years. But they'll be back. Then we stay ready," Yanseo said. "We guard our people forever." Yang looked at his fellow Star-Annihilators. They had all volunteered for this transformation 300 years ago. They had given up their human lives to become weapons. Living weapons that could protect humanity from anything, but weapons weren't meant to think. Weapons weren't meant to feel. Weapons weren't meant to love. "Is this what we wanted?" Yang asked quietly. "To be gods watching over children? Better than being humans watching our children die," Jihai replied. "But are we still human?" Park asked. "I can feel every star in the galaxy. I can see the birth of new worlds. I can touch the edge of forever. When I try to remember what it felt like to be human, the memories seem so small." The others were quiet. They all felt the same thing. The power had changed them, made them more than human, but maybe it had also made them less than human. "I remember something," Yang said, "from before the transformation. I had a sister. She made the best soup in the colony. Simple vegetable soup. Nothing special. But when I was tired or scared or hurt, that soup made everything better. I remember my daughter's laugh," Park said softly. "She would giggle when I read her stories. Such a simple sound, but it meant everything. I remember rain," Haiwan added. "The feeling of raindrops on my skin. I can create storms now that span entire star systems, but I can't feel rain anymore." The 7 Star-Annihilators hung in space, sharing memories of humanity they thought they had lost. "We have a choice," Yang said finally. "We can stay as we are, gods among mortals, or we can try to find our way back to humanity." "Is that possible?" Yunseo asked. "Can we give up this power?" "Not give up," Yang said. "Share it." "What do you mean?" Yang looked down at Earth. 8 billion humans living their lives. Laughing, crying, loving, hoping. They were fragile and short-lived and beautiful. "I mean, we stop being weapons and become teachers. We share our connection to the stars with our people. Not the power to destroy, but the power to create. To explore. To grow." "The Federation won't allow it," Jihai said. "They're already afraid of us. If we start teaching humans to manipulate stellar phenomena, the Federation is over," Yang said simply. "They failed to protect our people. They chose diplomacy while children died. We don't answer to them anymore." As if to prove his point, a communication signal reached them from Earth. President Yoon was trying to contact them. "Star-Annihilators, this is Earth Command. The Federation Council is demanding you report to their headquarters for debriefing. They want to discuss your abilities," Yang laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Tell the Federation Council that we will be happy to discuss our abilities with them, but they will come to us, and they will come as equals, not as our superiors. Sir, they're threatening economic sanctions if you don't comply." "Tell them," Yang said, his voice growing cold, "that economic sanctions don't work on beings who can make their sun go supernova." The communication signal went quiet. That wasn't very diplomatic. Park said. "I'm tired of diplomacy," Yang replied. "For 300 years, humanity tried to be civilized. We joined their federation. We followed their rules. We trusted them to protect us. And what happened? Our people died while the Federation talked." Yang's glow grew brighter as his anger increased. "No more. We protect our own now, and if the galaxy doesn't like it, they can remember what happened to the Purification Alliance." Over the next few days, the 7 Star-Annihilators made their choice. They dispersed across human space, each one taking responsibility for protecting certain colonies and trade routes. But they did something else too. They began teaching. Young humans with the right genetic markers started manifesting small abilities. They could sense solar weather. They could navigate by feeling gravity fields. They could communicate across space without technology. The children were the first to learn. Their minds were flexible enough to adapt to new ways of thinking. Soon, human schools were teaching courses on stellar awareness alongside mathematics and literature. "The Federation is panicking," Park reported during one of their meetings. "They're saying we're creating a race of superhumans." "We're creating the next stage of human evolution," Yang corrected. "We're making sure our people are never helpless again." "And if the Federation tries to stop us?" Yang's answer was simple. "Let them try." But the Federation didn't try to stop them. They couldn't. Every time they sent ships to investigate human colonies, those ships would suddenly lose power. Their weapons would stop working. Their engines would shut down. The Star-Annihilators didn't hurt anyone. They just made it very clear that human space was under new management. Months passed. The galaxy adapted to its new reality. Some species were grateful that the Star Killers had returned to protect the peace. Others were terrified that humanity had weapons beyond understanding. But humanity itself was changing in ways no one expected. The children who learned to sense stellar phenomena grew up to become explorers. They could navigate space like their ancestors had navigated oceans. They found new worlds, new resources, new possibilities. The adults who learned to communicate across space became diplomats and traders. They could negotiate with alien species in real time across impossible distances. And slowly, carefully, the Star-Annihilators began to share more of their power. Not the ability to destroy, but the ability to create, to nurture, to build. 5 years after the war ended, Ambassador Li Yujin stood before the new Galactic Assembly. She was Taemin's daughter, born after the war but raised in the new world the Star-Annihilators had created. "Honored delegates," she began. "Humanity did not ask to become guardians of this galaxy. We would have been content to remain farmers and traders and explorers. But you forced us to remember what we were capable of." The assembled aliens listened in silence. Many of them remembered the war. All of them remembered the fear. "We never wanted to be your gods," Yujin continued. "We never wanted to be your conquerors. But we are your guardians now, whether you like it or not, and we will protect the innocent regardless of their species." She paused and looked at the delegates, representatives from 1,000 worlds. People who had learned to live in peace because they knew the alternative was war with beings who could make stars dance. "Remember this day," Yujin said. "Remember what happens when you threaten the innocent. Remember that the universe itself will answer for justice. The stars themselves will rise to protect those who cannot protect themselves." After the assembly session ended, Yujin walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent walls, she could see the stars. Somewhere among them, the 7 Star-Annihilators continued their watch. Yang appeared beside her without warning. He looked more human now than he had right after awakening, still glowing softly but not blindingly bright. "Do you think we made the right choice?" he asked. Yujin looked at him. This man who had given up his humanity to protect hers. "You saved us all," she said simply. "But at what cost? We became weapons, monsters, things that shouldn't exist." "You became guardians," Yujin corrected. "You became exactly what we needed you to become," Yang smiled. For the first time in centuries, it was a completely human smile. "Maybe you're right. Maybe we found our way back to humanity after all." Outside the observation deck, the stars shone down on a galaxy at peace. Not the peace of the weak, but the peace of the protected. The peace that came from knowing that somewhere in the darkness, guardians watched and waited. And if that peace was ever threatened, if the innocent were ever endangered again, the stars themselves would remember their duty. The Star-Annihilators had awakened. And they would never sleep again. In the vast darkness of space, Yang Daehyun felt the heartbeat of every star, the breath of every world, the dreams of every child sleeping safely in their beds. This was what he had volunteered for 300 years ago. Not to be a weapon, to be home. Yang moved through space like a comet made of human will and stellar fire. He didn't need a ship. His body had been changed so much that vacuum couldn't hurt him. The cold of space felt like a gentle breeze. Behind him, Earth grew smaller. Ahead of him, the Purification Alliance fleet waited in formation. 2 million ships stretched across space like a metal constellation. They had weapons that could crack planets, shields that could stop anything. They had never fought a Star-Annihilator. Human weapon. The Alliance commander broadcast on all frequencies. "You are alone against 2 million ships. Surrender now and we will give your people a quick death." Yang didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached out to the nearest star. It was a red giant, old and tired, but it still had fire left to give. Yang touched the star's mind and asked it for help. The star said yes. A massive solar flare erupted from the red giant's surface. But this flare was different. Yang guided it like a river of liquid fire. He bent it around planets, threaded it between moons, and aimed it straight at the Alliance fleet. The flare hit the first line of ships and kept going. Metal melted. Shields failed. Engines died. In 30 seconds, Yang had destroyed 10,000 vessels with borrowed starlight. Impossible, the Alliance commander whispered. Yang's voice echoed across space. You wanted to see what humans were before we chose peace. You wanted to see the star killers. Look around you. This is what we are. The Alliance fleet opened fire. 2 million ships shooting at once created a storm of energy that could be seen from neighboring star systems. Enough firepower to destroy a moon. Yang caught the energy in his hands and threw it back. The return blast scattered the Alliance formation like leaves in a hurricane. Ships spun out of control. Some crashed into each other. Others just stopped working when their systems overloaded. But Yang wasn't done. He reached out to another star, a young blue giant full of violent energy. He whispered to it in the language of gravity and fusion. The star listened and responded. A wave of stellar wind raced across space. When it hit the Alliance fleet, it didn't destroy the ships. It did something worse. It pushed them all toward a nearby black hole. The Alliance ships fired their engines desperately, trying to escape the black hole's pull. Most of them made it, but they had to abandon their formation. Their careful strategy was broken. Retreat, the Alliance commander ordered. All ships retreat to safe distance. But Yang wasn't letting them retreat. He followed them through space, moving faster than their ships. Every few minutes, he would reach out to another star and borrow its power. Solar flares chased the fleeing ships. Gravity waves knocked them off course. Stellar wind pushed them into asteroid fields. Yang was playing with them, and they knew it. Back on Earth, people watched the battle on their screens. Military experts tried to explain what they were seeing, but the words didn't make sense. He's using stars as weapons, one expert said. That's not possible. He's moving faster than light, said another. Human bodies can't survive that. He's fighting 2 million ships by himself, said a third. And he's winning. President Yoon stood in the Situation Room watching the impossible battle. Her advisors were silent. What could they say? Their understanding of reality had just been thrown out the window. Madam President, her science advisor whispered, we're detecting similar energy signatures from the Mariana facility. I think there are more of them. More Star-Annihilators? Yes, ma'am, 6 more. They're all waking up. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Captain Park Yun-soo opened her eyes for the first time in 300 years. She felt Yang's presence in space, felt his battle with the Alliance fleet. She also felt something else. Other humans were in danger. Not just the colonies the Velox had attacked. Children in the core worlds were scared. Families were hiding in shelters. Her people needed protection. Park stepped out of her tank and began walking toward the surface. Like Yang, she glowed with stellar fire, but her light was different, gentler. Where Yang was a warrior, Park was a guardian. Major Lee Haewon woke up next. Then Commander Kim Yeon-seo, then Captain Lim Ji-hai. One by one, the Star-Annihilators emerged from their long sleep. Each one felt the pain of their people. Each one rose to the surface with fire in their hearts. In space, Yang sensed his fellow guardians awakening. For the first time in 300 years, he wasn't alone. Brothers, sisters, he spoke across the void. Our people are threatened. We feel it, Park replied. Her voice carried the warmth of a star's embrace. What do you need us to do? End this war, quickly, before the galaxy tears itself apart. The other Star-Annihilators rose from Earth like 7 new suns. They moved through space faster than thought, each one heading toward a different part of the Alliance fleet. The Alliance commander watched his sensors in horror. 7 contacts. 7 of them. How many of these weapons did the humans build? Yang appeared next to the command ship. Through the metal hull, through the shields, through everything. He looked directly at the Alliance commander. Enough, Yang said. Then the real battle began. 7 Star-Annihilators spread across the galaxy, each one taking a section of the Alliance fleet. They moved like dancers in a cosmic ballet, each step choreographed by centuries of practice. Park reached out to a pulsar and asked it to sing. The neutron star's radiation pulse swept across space in a focused beam, disabling 100,000 ships without harming their crews. HFY found a binary star system and convinced the two stars to eclipse each other. The sudden change in gravity caused Alliance ships to drift helplessly in space. Yonseo touched a supernova remnant and guided its shockwave toward the enemy fleet. The blast scattered ships across 3 star systems. One by one, the Star-Annihilators demonstrated why their species was called the Star Killers. They didn't just use weapons. They turned the universe itself into a weapon. The Alliance fleet, the largest military force ever assembled, was being destroyed by 7 human beings who had become something more than human. "Stop," the Alliance commander broadcast. "We surrender. Please stop." Yang paused in his attack. Around him, disabled ships drifted in space like broken toys. "You surrender?" "Yes, we surrender unconditionally." "You came here to kill children," Yang said. "You called it a holy war. You wanted to cleanse the galaxy of my people. We were wrong. Please, have mercy." Yang looked at the broken fleet. Millions of alien soldiers floating helplessly in space. They were afraid. Good. They should be afraid, but they were also defeated. The war was over. "You will leave this galaxy," Yang said. "All of you. Take your ships and go somewhere far away. If I ever see any of you again, if you ever threaten humans again, I will not be so gentle." "We understand. We'll leave, all of us." Yang watched as the Alliance fleet began to retreat. Ship after ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, running away as fast as they could. But Yang knew this wasn't really over. The galaxy had seen what humans could do. Some species would be grateful. Others would be terrified. And terrified people did stupid things. The Star-Annihilators gathered around Earth, 7 points of light in the darkness. They had won the war, but they had also changed everything. "What now?" Park asked. Yang looked down at the blue planet where their human lives had begun. People were celebrating in the streets. Children were playing again. Families were safe. "Now we decide what comes next," Yang said. "We can rule the galaxy like gods, or we can try to be human again." "Can we be human again?" Yonseo asked. "After what we've become?" Yang felt the power flowing through his transformed body. He could reach across space and touch stars. He could see the birth and death of galaxies. He was more powerful than any being in known space. But when he looked at Earth, he still felt the same thing he had felt as a young pilot 300 years ago. Love for his people. A desire to protect them. "We can try," he said. "We have to try." The 7 Star-Annihilators hung in space around Earth like guardian angels made of stellar fire. The war was over. The galaxy was safe, but the hardest battle was still ahead. The battle to remain human while possessing the power of gods. Yang Dae-hyun stood on the surface of the Pacific Ocean. He wasn't swimming. He wasn't floating. He was standing on the water like it was solid ground. The morning sun reflected off the waves around him, but Yang himself glowed brighter than the sun. Above him, satellites and space stations detected energy readings that broke their instruments. Below him, the ocean began to glow with the same blue light that surrounded his body. "Sir?" Minho's voice came through the communication device Yang had taken from the facility. "You need to know something. The Velox Empire has a fleet coming toward Earth. They'll be here in 6 hours. Yang looked up at the sky. To normal eyes, it was empty. But Yang could see much more than normal eyes. He could see the ships moving through space like angry insects. Thousands of them. "How many ships?" Yang asked. "Our sensors count 15,000 vessels. It's their entire battle fleet." Yang smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. 15,000, he said quietly. "They really don't remember, do they?" "Remember what, sir?" "What happened the last time someone brought 15,000 ships to fight humans?" Yang closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. Not toward Earth, toward the sun. 93 million miles away, the star that gave life to Earth felt his touch and responded. A solar flare erupted from the sun's surface. But this wasn't a normal flare. Yang guided it, shaped it, turned it into a weapon. The flare raced across space at the speed of light. It hit the Velox fleet in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. Every ship in the fleet lost power at once. 15,000 warships went dark in the middle of space. But Yang didn't destroy them. He just turned off their lights. "This is Captain Yang Dae-hyun," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You came to my home to kill my people. I could turn your sun into a supernova right now. I could collapse your home system into a black hole. I could do things to you that your species doesn't have words for. The Velox fleet drifted in the darkness, powerless. But I won't. Not yet. You have 1 hour to leave this system. If you come back, I won't be so gentle. Power returned to the Velox ships. Every captain in the fleet gave the same order at the same time. Run. On Earth, people watched their televisions in shock. The news channels were showing footage of Yang standing on the ocean. Footage of him talking to the sun like it was an old friend. Footage of 15,000 alien warships turning around and running away from one human being. President Yoon Nari sat in her office, trying to understand what she had just witnessed. Her advisors were all talking at once, but she couldn't focus on their words. She kept thinking about the same thing. One man had just defeated the largest fleet in known space. One man had just changed everything. Madam President, her military advisor said, the Federation Council is demanding an explanation. They want to know what Yang Daehyun is and how we created him. What do I tell them? The truth? That we built gods during the contact wars and forgot to mention it when we joined the Federation? President Yoon rubbed her temples. She could feel a headache coming. Meanwhile, in space stations and colonies across the galaxy, other species were remembering things they had tried to forget. Ancient files were being opened. Old stories were being told again. On the Keth homeworld, Elder Vexithana looked through historical records she hadn't touched in centuries. Her hands shook as she read. The Star Killers have awakened, she whispered to her aide. Send word to all Keth colonies. Tell them to prepare for evacuation. Evacuation, Elder? But the humans have been peaceful for centuries. Vexithana looked at her aide with ancient eyes. You don't understand. The humans weren't always peaceful. During the contact wars, they built weapons that could destroy solar systems. We surrendered because we had no choice. But that was 300 years ago. And now one of their weapons is awake again. Look at this footage from Earth's system. Look at what he did to the Velox fleet. The aide watched the recording of Yang turning off 15,000 warships with a solar flare. That's impossible. No, Vexthana said quietly. That's why we were afraid. Back on Earth, Yang was walking across the ocean toward land. Each step sent ripples of light through the water. Fish swam up to the surface to follow him. Even the sea creatures could feel his power. He reached the shore as news broadcast from across the galaxy began to arrive. The Velox Empire was calling for allies. They were forming something called the Purification Alliance. Their message was simple. The humans were too dangerous to exist. Sir? Minho called on the communicator. Are you seeing these broadcasts? Yes, Yang replied. He stepped onto the beach and the sand turned to glass under his feet. They're afraid. Good. Fear makes people careful. Sir, they're talking about destroying Earth entirely. All human colonies. They want to wipe us out. Yang stopped walking. For a moment, the glow around his body dimmed. All of us. Yes, sir. They're calling it a holy war. A cleansing. The glow returned. Brighter than before. Then they've made a mistake, Yang said. A very big mistake. In the Mariana facility, something else was happening. Deep in the lower levels, in chambers Minho hadn't found yet, other tanks were beginning to glow. Other names were on other plaques. Captain Park Yunsu. Project Starfall Unit 2, Major Lee Hae-won. Project Starfall Unit 3, Commander Kim Yeon-seo. Project Starfall Unit 4, 7 tanks in total. 7 Star-Annihilators. Yang hadn't been the only volunteer. They were all beginning to wake up. On the surface, Yang reached the city. People came out of their buildings to stare at him. He looked like a normal man except for the light. And except for the way reality seemed to bend around him. A little girl broke away from her mother and ran up to Yang. She wasn't afraid. Children were rarely afraid of the right things. Are you an angel? She asked. Yang knelt down to look at her. For a moment his face was sad. No, little one. I'm something much more dangerous than an angel. Are you going to protect us from the bad aliens? Yang touched the girl's face gently. His hand was warm like sunlight. Yes, he said. I'm going to protect all of you, no matter what it costs. The girl smiled and ran back to her mother. Yang stood up and looked at the sky again. More ships were coming. Not Velox ships this time. Ships from dozens of different species. The Purification Alliance was real. Minho, Yang said into the communicator. How many ships in the Alliance fleet? Sir, our long-range sensors are detecting. This can't be right. How many? Over 2 million vessels, sir. It's the largest fleet in galactic history. Yang nodded. Then I guess it's time for them to learn galactic history. He began to glow brighter. Much brighter. People on the street had to look away or be blinded. Cars stopped working. Streetlights exploded. The city's power grid couldn't handle the energy Yang was putting out. Sir, Minho's voice was worried. Your energy output is increasing exponentially. If you keep this up, I know, Yang said. But they want to kill children. My children. All human children. Yang looked up at the stars one more time. When he spoke again, his voice carried across space itself. Every human being in the galaxy heard it in their minds. My name is Yang Daehyun. 300 years ago, I volunteered to become something that could protect humanity. I gave up my human life to become a guardian of my people. The light around Yang grew so bright that it could be seen from orbit. The Purification Alliance wants to destroy every human in the galaxy. They think we are weak because we chose peace. They are wrong. Yang's feet left the ground. He began to rise into the air, surrounded by stellar fire. I am going to show them what we were before we chose peace. I am going to remind them why their ancestors were afraid of us. And when I am done, they will understand something very important. Yang rose higher, becoming a second sun in Earth's sky. Peace is not weakness. Peace is a choice. And we are choosing something else now. Then Yang Daehyun, the first Star-Annihilator, launched himself into space to meet the largest fleet in galactic history. But he wasn't going alone. In the depths of the Mariana facility, 6 other tanks were opening. 6 other guardians were waking up. The galaxy was about to remember why humans had been called the Star Killers, and this time, they wouldn't forget. 3 days after New Busan died, Taemin stood in General Kim Han-sol's living room. The old man looked tired, more tired than anyone should look. You shouldn't have come here, Han-sol said. What I'm about to tell you will change everything. Everything already changed when my sister died, Taemin replied. Tell me about Project Starfall. Han-sol walked to his window and looked out at the city. Normal people doing normal things. They had no idea what was coming. Project Starfall was our answer to extinction, Han-sol began. During the contact wars, we were losing badly. The Keth Alliance had better everything. Ships, weapons, technology. They were going to wipe us out. So we built weapons? Not weapons. Something else. Something worse. Han-sol turned back to Taemin. We built gods. The old general walked to his desk and pulled out an old photograph. It showed a young man in a military uniform. He looked happy. Captain Yang Daehyun, the best pilot in the fleet. Also the bravest fool I ever met. He volunteered for an experiment that would either save humanity or destroy it. What kind of experiment? We merged him with technology that could manipulate stellar phenomena. Stars, solar wind, gravity fields. The idea was to create a being that could use space itself as a weapon. Taemin stared at the photograph. The young man looked so normal. So human. Did it work? Too well. Yang became something beyond human understanding. He could reach across light years and make stars dance to his will. The first time he demonstrated his power, he caused a solar flare that disabled an entire enemy fleet. The second time, he made a star go supernova. And the aliens surrendered? They ran. All of them. Faster than they had ever run from anything. Han-sol's voice was quiet, but the power was too much. Yang started to lose himself. We had to put him into stasis before he lost his humanity completely. Where is he now? Han-sol looked at Taemin for a long moment. The Mariana facility, deep under the Pacific Ocean. But he's been asleep for 300 years. The process was designed to be permanent. At that exact moment, engineer Minho was discovering that permanent didn't always mean permanent. His submarine had docked with the Mariana facility. The structure was enormous. Corridors stretched in every direction. Most of them were dark and cold. But deep in the center, something was different. The energy readings are strongest this way, Minho told his team as they walked through the facility. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. They found the chamber at the bottom level. It was huge, the size of a cathedral. And in the center, floating in some kind of blue liquid, was a man. Is he alive? Asked one of Minho's team members. Minho checked his instruments. According to these readings, he's more than alive. He's generating enough energy to power a small city. The man in the tank looked young, maybe 30 years old. But the facility was 300 years old. That was impossible. Sir, Another team member called out, "You need to see this." On the wall next to the tank was a plaque. It read, "Captain Yang De-hyun, Project Starfall, in stasis until humanity's greatest need." Minho felt a chill run down his spine. What's Project Starfall? Nobody knew. But as they stood there, the blue liquid in the tank began to glow brighter. Meanwhile, Admiral Kang Ji-woo was having the worst day of her career. The Federation Council had just voted. Again. They decided to send another diplomatic mission to the Velox Empire. More talking, more waiting, more dying while they talked. "Admiral," her aide said quietly, "there's been another attack. The colony at Sejong Station." Ji-woo closed her eyes. Sejong Station was home to 50,000 people. Families, children, people who trusted the Federation to protect them. Survivors? None, ma'am. Ji-woo felt something break inside her chest. She had sworn an oath to protect human colonies, but the Federation wouldn't let her fight. They wanted her to sit still and watch people die, ma'am. Your orders? Prepare the fleet, Ji-woo said quietly. Ma'am? The council said. I know what the council said. Prepare the fleet anyway. Back on Earth, strange things were happening. Dr. Park So-young was the first to notice them. The aurora borealis appeared during the day. That shouldn't happen. The northern lights only came out at night. But there they were. Green and blue lights dancing across the sky in broad daylight. Computer, explain the aurora phenomenon currently visible. Unable to explain current aurora activity. Solar wind patterns are normal. Magnetic field is stable. So-young went outside to look for herself. The lights were beautiful, but they were also impossible. She was still watching when her phone rang. Dr. Park, this is Engineer Choi Min-ho. I'm calling from the Mariana facility. We found something down here, something connected to your research. The Mariana facility, that place has been abandoned for decades. Not abandoned, hidden. We found a man in some kind of stasis chamber. The nameplate says Captain Yang De-hyun, Project Starfall. So-young dropped her phone. Deep under the ocean, Yang De-hyun was dreaming. In his dreams, he was flying through space, past planets and moons and stars. He could feel them all. Every star was like a heartbeat in his chest. But something was wrong. He could hear crying. Human crying. People calling for help. People dying, his people. Yang tried to wake up, but his body wouldn't listen. He had been asleep too long. But the crying was getting louder. More desperate. On the surface, the impossible aurora was spreading. Now it could be seen from space. Taemin watched it from his orbital platform. Sir, we're getting reports from all over Earth. The aurora is visible on every continent, day and night. Taemin thought about his conversation with General Hansol, about Captain Yang and the power he possessed. About stellar phenomena and manipulation. Sir, should we report this to the Federation? No, Taemin said. Not yet. He had a feeling the Federation was about to become irrelevant. In the Mariana facility, Yang's eyes opened for the first time in 300 years. The blue liquid drained from his tank. He stepped out naked and confused. His body looked young, but his eyes looked ancient. Where am I? He asked. His voice was hoarse from centuries of silence. Min-ho and his team backed away. The man was glowing. Literally glowing with a soft blue light. You're in the Mariana facility, sir. You've been in stasis for 300 years. Yang looked around the chamber. Slowly memories began to return. The war, the experiment, the power that had almost consumed him. The war, he said. Is it over? Yes, sir. Earth joined the Galactic Federation. We've been at peace for centuries, Yang smiled. Good. Then the sacrifice was worth it. But then he felt it again. The crying, the pain. His people were hurting, sir. Are you all right? Yang's smile faded. The glow around his body got brighter. Who is attacking my people? Min-ho didn't understand. Sir, I can feel them dying. In space, far from here. Who is killing humans? The Velox Empire has been attacking our colonies. But the Federation is handling it diplomatically. Yang's eyes flashed with light. Real light. Like looking into a star, diplomacy, he said quietly. While children die, the facility began to shake. Not from earthquakes. From something else. Something that made reality itself vibrate. Yang walked past Min-ho's team toward the exit. With each step, his glow got brighter. By the time he reached the corridor, he wasn't just glowing anymore. He was shining like a small sun. Sir, where are you going? Yang paused and looked back. For a moment, Min-ho saw something terrible in his eyes. something that had seen the birth and death of stars. To remind the galaxy why they used to fear us, then Yang Daihyun, the first Star-Annihilator, began his journey to the surface and across the solar system. Every piece of advanced technology capable of detecting stellar phenomena suddenly went crazy with impossible readings. In the depths of space, the Velox Empire's scouts felt something stir in the void, something vast and angry and very, very old, something that had been sleeping for 300 years but not anymore. Commander Lee Tae-min floated in the observation deck of Earth's orbital defense platform, watching the blue planet spin slowly below. The coffee in his cup was cold, but he didn't notice. His mind was on the reports coming from the outer colonies. Bad reports. Very bad reports. "Sir, another message from the Federation Council," said his assistant, walking up behind him. The young man's face was pale. Tae-min turned around. "What do they say this time?" "They want us to file another diplomatic protest." "That's all." Tae-min felt anger rise in his chest. Another protest. Another piece of paper. More words that meant nothing while people died in space. The Velox Empire had attacked 3 human colonies in the past month. They killed everyone. Men, women, children, everyone. "Thank you, Corporal Sung, that will be all." The young man left and Tae-min was alone again with his thoughts. Earth had been peaceful for over 200 years. They joined the Galactic Federation and put away their weapons. They learned to talk instead of fight. They thought everyone else wanted peace too. They were wrong. Down on Earth's surface, Dr. Park So-young was having her own problems. She worked in the old archives, studying things from before the Federation. Most people thought her job was boring. They didn't care about the past. But So-young knew the past was important. It taught lessons. Today she found something strange. Very strange. "Computer, show me all files marked Starfall," she said to the archive system. "Access denied. Military classification level Omega." So-young frowned. Omega classification was the highest level. It was for things so dangerous that only the top generals could see them. But the file was old. Very old. From before the Federation. "Computer, show me the file creation date." File created March 15th, 2156. Earth Defense Force, Special Projects Division. That was over 200 years ago, during the Contact Wars, when humans first met aliens and the meeting didn't go well. The wars lasted 10 years and killed millions of people. Then the Federation was formed and everyone agreed to be peaceful. But what was Project Starfall? So-young tried different ways to access the file. Nothing worked. But she was good at her job. She found other files that mentioned Starfall. Small mentions. Hints. What she learned made her hands shake. Project Starfall was a weapon. Not just any weapon. Something that could destroy entire star systems. "That's impossible," she whispered to herself. Humans couldn't build something like that. Could they? Far away on the colony world of New Busan, Taiman's sister Jin'e was running for her life. The Velox ships had appeared in the sky an hour ago. Without warning. Without demands. They just started shooting. Jin'e held her 5-year-old son tight as explosions lit up the night around them. The boy was crying. She was crying too, but she tried to be brave for him. "Mommy, why are the bad aliens hurting us?" the boy asked. Jin'e didn't know what to say. She didn't know why anyone would want to hurt them. The humans on New Busan were farmers. They grew food. They had no weapons, no armies. They never hurt anyone. She reached the emergency shelter just as another explosion shook the ground. Inside, hundreds of people were crowded together, all of them scared. All of them asking the same question: why? Jin'e found a communication terminal and sent a message to her brother. Her hands were shaking as she typed, "Tae-min, they're killing everyone. The Velox ships are in orbit. They're bombing the cities. The farms, everything. Please, someone has to stop them. The children. They're killing the children." She sent the message just as the lights went out. Then she heard a sound that made her blood freeze. The shelter door was melting. The Velox soldiers were coming inside. Back on Earth, General Kim Han-sol sat in his small apartment, reading the same reports as everyone else. But unlike the others, he wasn't surprised. He was old enough to remember the Contact Wars. He was one of the few people still alive who knew what humans were really capable of. The young people thought humans were peaceful. They thought humans had always been peaceful. They were wrong. During the Contact Wars, humans had been losing. The aliens had better technology, better ships, better weapons. So human scientists created something new, something terrible. They created the Star-Annihilators. Han Sol remembered the day they tested the first one. A volunteer named Yang Dae-hyun went into the machine. When he came out, he wasn't human anymore. He was something else. Something that could reach across space and touch stars, make them do things. Terrible things. The aliens had surrendered quickly after that. But the Star-Annihilators were too dangerous. After the war ended, they were put to sleep, hidden away. The Federation made humans promise to never wake them up. Now Han Sol wondered if that promise could be kept. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, in a place called the Mariana Facility, something was stirring. The facility had been abandoned for decades. The lights were off. The computers were silent. But in the deepest chamber, something was waking up. Engineer Choi Min-ho didn't know about any of this. He was just following orders. The government told him to check on some old readings from the ocean floor. Probably nothing important. Probably just broken sensors. But when his submarine reached the coordinates, Min-ho saw something that shouldn't exist. A massive structure built into the sea floor. It was huge, bigger than a city, and it was glowing with a strange blue light. Command, this is Deep 6. I'm seeing structures at the target location. Big structures. They're not on any of our maps. Deep 6, are you sure? Our records show that area is empty. Min-ho looked at his screens again. The structures were definitely there. And they were definitely not empty. Energy readings were off the charts. Command, something's down here. Something big. And it's alive. At that moment, Taemin received his sister's message. He read it 3 times before the words made sense. Then he read the follow-up reports. New Busan was gone. Everyone was dead. His sister, his nephew, everyone. The diplomatic protests hadn't worked. The peace treaties hadn't worked. Being civilized hadn't worked. Taemin felt something change inside him. Something cold and hard and angry. For the first time in his life, he understood what his grandfather meant when he talked about the old days. The days when humans fought back. Computer, he said quietly. Get me General Kim Han Sol. Priority Alpha. Sir, the general is retired. He doesn't take official calls. Tell him Commander Lee needs to know about Project Starfall. He'll take the call. Far below the ocean, in the depths of the Mariana Facility, Captain Yang Dae-hyun felt the first stirrings of consciousness after 300 years of sleep. He didn't know where he was. He didn't remember his name. But he felt something else, pain, human pain, the pain of his people dying in the darkness of space. And for the first time in centuries, the Star-Annihilator began to wake up.